Hey everyone, I'm working to hit 1,000 subscribers, and I need your help to get there. If you enjoy this content, please hit that subscribe button right now.
The Philadelphia Phillies are in serious trouble, folks, and what I'm about to tell you is going to blow your mind. Dave Dombrowski, the man who's supposed to be building a World Series contender, has hit a brick wall. And no, it's not the luxury tax. It's not the bloated payroll. It's something far more embarrassing, something that has rival general managers laughing all the way to the bank while the Phillies sit there with their hands tied behind their backs. Picture this. You're Dave Dombrowski. You've won 2 World Series championships. You're supposed to be the guy who goes all in, who trades away the farm system for established veterans, who does whatever it takes to win now. But here you are, in the winter of 2025, trying to make deals to improve your team, and you keep hearing the same thing from other general managers. No, not interested. Don't have what we need. Click. The phone goes dead again and again and again. So what's the problem? What's the one thing stopping the Phillies from making the moves they desperately need to make? Hold on to your hats, because according to a bombshell report from Yahoo Sports and Matt Gelb of The Athletic, the Philadelphia Phillies don't have enough trade chips. That's right, the cupboard is bare. The farm system has been picked clean. And now, when Dave Dombrowski needs to make a move, when he needs to upgrade that questionable outfield or find a solution to the Nick Castellanos disaster, he's got nothing to offer. Let me paint you the full picture here, because this is bigger than just not having prospects to trade. This is about years of decisions catching up to the organization all at once. The $150 million contract. They've added Adolis Garcia, who's coming off a down year and needs to prove he can bounce back. And they've made moves in the bullpen. They traded Matt Strom to create some financial flexibility. But here's the kicker. None of that matters if you can't make the trades you need to make, because you don't have the assets other teams want. And what do other teams want? Pitching, young, controllable, major league ready pitching. That's the currency of baseball trades in today's game. If you want to acquire a legitimate center fielder, if you want to upgrade your lineup, if you want to add that final piece that puts you over the top, you better have some young arms to dangle in front of other teams. The problem? Solid role player who wouldn't cost a fortune. And get this, they've even kicked the tires on Luis Robert Jr. from the Chicago White Sox, a former all-star with elite tools when healthy. But every time they've tried to put together a package, they've run into the same problem. The other team asks what pitching prospects the Phillies can include, and Dave Dombrowski has to sheepishly admit that the cupboard is bare. That diminished their hand, as Gelb put it. Translation, the Phillies have no leverage. Now let's talk about why this is happening, because this didn't come out of nowhere. Dave Dombrowski has a reputation. He's known throughout baseball as the guy who mortgages the future for the present. He did it in Florida when he won the World Series with the Marlins in 1997. He did it in Boston when he won with the Red Sox in 2018. The strategy is simple. Trade away your prospects, your young, controllable talent. But 7 right-hander, who was supposed to be the next ace, is still in the organization. Aiden Miller, the slick fielding shortstop with a promising bat, hasn't been dealt. Justin Crawford, the speedy outfielder who's expected to start in center field this year, is still wearing a Phillies uniform. Dombrowski has been more careful than his reputation would suggest. So why is the farm system so depleted? Because there's no depth beyond those top 3 guys. Once you get past Painter, Miller, and Crawford, the prospect cupboard drops off a cliff. There's Gage Wood, the Arkansas pitcher who threw a no-hitter in the College World Series and has rocketed up the rankings in his first year in the system. There's Moises Chache, a name that occasionally pops up in trade rumors. There's Gene Cabrera and Matthew Fisher, a couple of pitching prospects with upside but significant question marks. But none of these guys are the kind of prospects that make other general managers say yes to a deal. They're lottery tickets, not sure things. And here's where it gets really interesting. The Phillies are in a catch-22 situation. They need to improve the team to compete for a World Series, but they can't afford to trade away their top 3 prospects because there's nothing behind them. If they deal Andrew Painter, who's going to be the future ace? If they trade Aiden Miller, where's their next middle infield star coming from? If they move Justin Crawford, who's playing center field in 2026 and beyond, the organization has painted itself into a corner, and now they're stuck. Let's dive deeper into each of these guys, because understanding their value or lack thereof, is crucial to understanding why the Phillies can't make a deal. Start with Andrew Painter. This kid was supposed to be special. The organization has been gushing about him for years, talking about him like he's the next coming of Aaron Nola or Zach Wheeler. But here's the reality. Painter is coming off Tommy John surgery. He pitched at AAA Lehigh Valley last season and posted a 5.4 ERA across 22 starts. That's not good, folks. That's really not good. Now, to be fair, he was coming back from a major injury and jumping up levels in competition. It's understandable that he wasn't at his best. But the problem is that his trade value has taken a hit. Other teams aren't going to give up a premium player for a guy who just posted an ERA over 5 in AAA, no matter how high his ceiling is. And here's another issue. The Phillies made a mistake last year by setting expectations that Painter would get called up to the major leagues at some point during the season. Dave Dombrowski publicly talked about it. The media ran with it. The fans expected it. And then it never happened because Painter wasn't ready. That put unnecessary pressure on a young pitcher who was still recovering from surgery and trying to find his footing. It was the worst case scenario for everyone involved. So now, heading into 2025, the Phillies are in a position where they need Painter to have a big year to restore his trade value if they ever want to move him. But they also need him to develop into the ace they think he can be, so they don't have to trade him at all. It's a delicate balancing act. Then there's Aiden Miller, and this is where things get really fascinating. Miller is primarily a shortstop, but he can also play second base and third base. He's got a solid glove, a decent bat, and the kind of versatility that teams love. But here's the problem. Where does he fit on the Phillies? Trey Turner is locked in at shortstop for the foreseeable future on a massive contract. Bryson Stott is entrenched at second base, even though his bat has regressed significantly over the past 2 seasons. Alec Boehm is at third base, and while his name has been floated in trade rumors, nothing has materialized. So unless the Phillies are willing to move one of those guys, there's no clear path for Aiden Miller to crack the major league roster. And yet, Dave Dombrowski won't trade him. Why? Because the Phillies believe in his talent. They think he can be a future star. But if you're not willing to create a pathway for him to play in Philadelphia, and you're not willing to trade him, what's the point of having him? It's a question that doesn't have a good answer right now. Maybe the plan is to wait and see if Stott or Boehm becomes expendable. Maybe they're hoping Miller develops into such an obvious talent that they have to find a spot for him. Or maybe they're just paralyzed by indecision, afraid to make the wrong move. Justin Crawford is a different story. He's the one prospect in the top 3 who actually has a clear role on the 2025 Phillies. The expectation is that he'll start in center field on opening day, bringing his elite speed and defensive ability to a position that's been a question mark for this team. But here's the catch. Crawford has never played a single game in the major leagues, not one. We haven't seen him face major league pitching. We don't know if his bat will translate. We don't know if he can handle the pressure of playing in Philadelphia where the fans are ruthless and the media scrutiny is intense. He's a huge question mark, and yet the Phillies are planning to hand him a starting job. That's either a vote of confidence or a sign of desperation, depending on how you look at it. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room, Nick Castellanos. This guy has become the poster child for everything wrong with the Phillies right now. He's 33 years old. He's coming off a season where he hit just 17 home runs with 72 RBIs across 547 at-bats. His relationship with manager Rob Thompson has reportedly fractured to the point where there's a 0% chance he returns to Philadelphia. Every report, every rumor, every whisper out of the organization says the same thing. Castellanos has to go. But here's the problem. Nobody wants him. Or at least nobody wants him at the price the Phillies are asking. Castellanos is owed significant money. He's not the player he once was. And most importantly, teams know the Phillies are desperate to move him, which kills any leverage Dave Dombrowski might have in trade negotiations. It's a disaster scenario. The Phillies need to get rid of him to clear payroll space and open up a roster spot, but they can't find a trade partner. And even if they do find someone willing to take him, they'll probably have to eat a huge chunk of his salary or accept pennies on the dollar in return. It's a lose-lose situation. And the outfield problems don't stop with Castellanos. Brandon Marsh still hasn't fixed his platoon issues. He's a great defender, but he can't hit left-handed pitching to save his life. Adolis Garcia is a bounce-back candidate, but that's all he is right now, a candidate. He was excellent in the postseason a couple years ago, showing up on the biggest stage and delivering huge hits, but last year he was awful. Can he recapture that magic? Maybe, but it's far from a sure thing. Then there's Johan Rojas, who showed flashes, but is still very much a work in progress. And we've already talked about Justin Crawford, who's an unknown commodity at the major league level. This outfield is a mess, folks. It's a patchwork of question marks, bounce-back candidates, and unproven rookies. And the Phillies can't do anything about it because they don't have the trade chips to go out and get an established, proven outfielder. They're stuck hoping that everything breaks right, that all these question marks turn into exclamation points, that all these guys have career years at the same time. That's not a plan. That's a prayer. And let's zoom out for a second and look at the bigger picture. The Phillies have won 95 or more games in each of the last 2 seasons. They've made the playoffs both years. On paper, this is a really good team. But here's the thing. They've been bounced from the NLDS in back-to-back years. They haven't been able to get over the hump. They haven't been able to make a deep playoff run. And that's the whole point of building a roster like this, of spending all this money, of paying these luxury tax bills. You're supposed to win championships, not just make the playoffs. So what's holding them back? Is it the starting pitching? Not really. Zach Wheeler is one of the best pitchers in baseball. Aaron Nola has been solid. Ranger Suarez had a breakout year. The rotation is good enough. Is it the bullpen? That's been a weakness, but the Phillies have made moves to address it this offseason. Is it the lineup? This is where things get tricky. The Phillies have some really good hitters. Bryce Harper is still one of the best players in baseball. Trea Turner is an elite shortstop. JT Realmuto is a top-tier catcher. Kyle Schwarber provides power and on-base ability, but there are holes. There's inconsistency, and when it matters most, in the biggest moments of the biggest games, the lineup hasn't come through. And now, because the farm system is depleted, because the Phillies don't have the trade chips to make a significant upgrade, they're stuck hoping that internal improvements and bounce-back seasons will be enough. That's a scary place to be when you're a team with World Series aspirations. Matt Gelb's reporting makes it clear that the Phillies tried to address these issues. They reached out about Brenton Doyle, Jake Myers, and Lewis Robert Jr. These are legitimate major league outfielders who could have helped. But when the conversation turned to what the Phillies could offer in return, the talks went nowhere. The other teams wanted young pitching, and the Phillies didn't have it, or at least they didn't have pitching they were willing to part with. In a bind. So what's the solution? How do the Phillies get out of this mess? The honest answer is that there's no easy fix. They're going to have to get creative. They're going to have to find value in unexpected places. Maybe that means taking a chance on a reclamation project like Adolis Garcia and hoping he rediscovers his form. Maybe it means giving Justin Crawford the keys to center field and praying he's ready. Maybe it means holding on to Andrew Painter and hoping he develops into the ace they think he can be, rather than trading him for a short-term fix. But one thing is certain. The Phillies can't stand pat. They can't just run it back with the same roster and hope for different results. That's the definition of insanity. They need to find a way to address the Nick Castellanos situation, even if it means eating a huge portion of his contract. They need to make at least one more move in the outfield to provide some insurance and depth. And they need to figure out what they're doing at the catching position, because that's another area that hasn't gotten enough attention but could be a problem. The offseason isn't over yet. There's still time for Dave Dombrowski to pull a rabbit out of his hat, to make a move that nobody sees coming, to prove that he's still one of the best general managers in baseball. But right now, based on what we know, based on the reporting from Matt Gelb and others, the Phillies are in a tough spot. They're trying to compete for a championship with one hand tied behind their back, and it's all because they don't have the trade chips to make the moves they need to make. This is a franchise that's all in on winning right now. The payroll is massive. The luxury tax bill is staggering. The expectations are sky high. But when you can't make the trades you need to make, when you can't upgrade the roster because other teams aren't interested in what you're offering, all of that money and all of those expectations don't mean much. You're just spinning your wheels, hoping that luck breaks your way. The Phillies have some tough decisions ahead. Do they break down and trade Andrew Painter accepting that his value has dipped, but betting that some team will still see the upside? Do they finally pull the trigger on an Alec Boehm trade, creating a path for Aiden Miller and opening up some payroll space? Do they get desperate and overpay for a veteran outfielder just to fill the holes? Or do they stand pat, trust their current roster, and hope that everything clicks? Whatever they decide, one thing is clear. The window is closing. Bryce Harper isn't getting any younger. Zach Wheeler has a limited number of prime years left. JT Realmuto is on the back nine of his career. This team needs to win now, and every year they don't make a deep playoff run is a year wasted. The pressure is on Dave Dombrowski to figure this out, to find a way to build a true World Series contender despite the limitations he's working with. And here's the thing, Dombrowski has done it before. He's won championships. He knows what it takes. But this might be his toughest challenge yet. Building a winner when you have unlimited resources is one thing. Building a winner when you're handcuffed by a depleted farm system and a bloated payroll is something else entirely. It's going to take creativity, ingenuity, and maybe a little bit of luck. The Philadelphia Phillies are at a crossroads. They can either find a way to navigate these obstacles and build a championship team, or they can watch their window slam shut while other teams pass them by. The next few weeks and months will be crucial. Every decision Dave Dombrowski makes will be scrutinized. Every move, or lack thereof, will be analyzed and debated. The fans are watching. The media is watching. And most importantly, the rest of baseball is watching, waiting to see if the Phillies can figure out how to win without the trade chips that every contender needs. This is the reality of the 2025 Philadelphia Phillies, a team with championship aspirations but significant obstacles in their way. A roster full of talent, but also full of question marks. A general manager with a proven track record, but also with his hands tied. It's a fascinating situation, and it's going to be one of the most compelling storylines to follow as this season unfolds. Can Dave Dombrowski pull off a miracle? Can the Phillies find a way to win despite not having the assets to make big trades? Or will this be the year that the cracks in the foundation finally become too big to ignore? We're about to find out, and it's going to be one wild ride. So if you're a Phillies fan, buckle up. If you're a baseball fan who loves drama, intrigue, and high-stakes decision-making, keep your eyes on Philadelphia. This team is either going to figure it out and make a run at a championship, or they're going to implode in spectacular fashion. Either way, it's going to be must-watch television. Make sure you're dropping a like on this video, subscribing to the channel, and leaving your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think the Phillies can overcome their lack of trade chips should they break down and deal Andrew Painter? What would you do if you were Dave Dombrowski? Let me know your thoughts, and I'll see you in the next one.